All right, so we are going to look at another topic, subtopic under bearing, where we said that using the North and South Pole only. First, you looked at using the North Pole, but here you are going to use both the North and the South Pole. Okay, so let's see. Here, measurement is taken in northwest because I have northeast, southeast, then southwest. Okay, so that's how the measurement is taken. I hope you have seen some before. Example is this. You can see north 30 degrees due what east. Seen something like this before. So this is why we call the northeast. Okay, or you can also call it compass bearing. So those of you haven't watched that is having compass, okay, you could see that it's read it like this: the north, then the east, or north west. You can have south west, south east. We don't have west south, or east south, or west north, or east north. No, it does not pronounce it that way, or it does not arrange in that way. Okay, so that's what you are going to look at. Also, the bearing is written by either the North Pole or South Pole first. That's what I've said. Followed by the acute angle formed with it. So it's always written in the North Pole or the South Pole first, then followed by the acute angle formed with it before whether the east or the west. Okay. Also, we mentioned of acute angle. When we say acute angle, it's an angle that is less than 90 degrees. Means that all the angles that is going to form between that of either being the north or the south pole should be an acute angle, should be an angle that is less than 90 degrees. So we don't want to be seeing, let's say, south 100 west. You don't want to be seeing this. This is wrong. Okay, the angle should be less than 90. Okay, it should be less than 90. That's why I said acute angle. That's why I'm emphasizing on that one very well for you to understand that. Okay, so we are going to look at an examples, then you see how it look like. But before I start with example, let's say something like this here. Let's say I have something like this. This is my north, this is east, this is south. Okay, so let's say the angle is forming here. Let me clean this side and let me do it here for you to see. Let me draw it bigger here for you to see. This is north, east, south, then west. Okay, so west. So this one, let's assume that I have a bearing M here, and that bearing M is 30 degrees, and I have bearing, let's say 40 degrees here. Let's say this is K. Okay, now if I want to write this one in terms of the north and south pole only, this is how it's going to look like, or the compass bearing. This is how it's going to look like. It's going to look like the first one. M will be equal to the north 30 degrees east. Is that okay? North 30 degrees east, because the bearing M is between the north and the east. The acute angle should form between the north and that of the bearing here. So let's assume that the angle was here. Let's say if here is 60 degrees and this side was not given, and I want to write this, I cannot write it as north 60 degrees east. This is wrong. The angle should form between here. So if here is given to you, then you should subtract 60 from 90. That gives you what? The 30 here before you work on it. Okay. The same thing applies to the down here. I don't want us to get to the example and become confused. The same thing applies to the down here. I want the bearing of K from the center. So that one, this K is between south and east. It's not between north and east. It's between south and east. So we cannot use the north again. This time around, it's going to be south and east. Now, so if it's going to be south and east, you realize that the bearing, the angle there is forming between, or is forming at where the east is, okay? And we don't have east south. So you cannot use this 40, but rather you should use southeast. So the angle should be here. So you know that the whole of this place is 90 degrees. So if the whole of this place is 90 and here is 40, here will be what? 50 degrees. So here will be 50 degrees. So south 50 due east. Is that okay? Very good. So I'm going to, solve example with you. Find the bearing of M, P, U, Q, R, and T from the center O in the diagram below. So this is our beautiful diagram. But remember, you are using the bearing of what? North, south pole only. So what we are going to do here is that, let's start with the M. So M is between the north and the east. So we have north, then what? East. Also, from this place, you see this 28 is attached to the north, not the east. So we write a 28 there. Second one, which is the P. So, as I said, the P will move from this place, from the north to where the P is. So we are going to add the 28 to the 33, okay? And also the P is between the north and east. So that will be north east. So 28 plus 33 will be 61 degrees. Now let's move from P, you go to U. Now let's identify U. Where is our U? Right, look at where the U is. So let me leave the U there, okay? And let's go to the Q. Okay. Now for the Q is between east and that of south. Is that okay? South and east. So that one is south east. Now how do you get the number there? Now that's what I was saying. Because we are taking the south and east, we cannot take the number between the E and the Q. No, we should take the number between the S and that of what? The Q. So if you look at this X and that of the Q, how can we get the number here? The number from the whole of this place is 90 degrees. So if here is 46, what will be this place? You simply subtract 46 from 90. Is that okay? And that will give you here 8. So that will be 44. So this place will be 44 degrees. So that side is going to be 44 degrees. From Q, let's move to T. I don't want you to be confused. Now the T is between south and east. So south and west rather. So for the south and west, and this is between T and S. So you just pick the number there. That's 10 degrees. Is that okay? I'll leave the R for you to do. Okay. But let's look at the U. Now the U is between west and that of the north. So you write it as north, then west. Now the number there is not between U and the N, but it's rather between U and the W, the west. So you should get the number here. So you see, simply subtract 58 from what? 90. Is that okay? So let's see. So 90 minus 58. here will be 2, here left with what? 8. So if this side is left with 8, we subtract 5 from 8, we have what? 3. So this side will be what? 32 degrees. So please do the R and tell me your answer. Is that okay? Good. Now let's move to the next topic.